Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the American Energy segment. The Saudis have a petro war. Tumbling oil prices are draining billions from oil-rich nations, but saving American motorists $600 million a day and injecting a much-needed boost during the holidays. Concerns of earthquakes and fracking in Oklahoma and Texas. Are these stories intertwined? Maury, good news on the front, good and bad, I guess. If you look at it from a global standpoint, when the Russians are losing millions and billions, and the Saudis and the Iranians, tensions can heat up, and you could see some conflicts based on that. But in terms of America, we're saving millions of dollars right now, shipping, motor planes, all kinds of areas where it's helping us out.
Yes, but the energy development, which is our future as far as generating revenues, as far as generating jobs, as far as expanding our ability to stand on our own feet.
Independence from the people who hate us.
Energy independence going all the way back to 1973. That's not good. The reasons, let's get to the reason behind this 30% drop in oil prices since the end of the year. This was never predicted by me or anybody else. We figured, that at this time of the year, instead of price per barrel being $68, it would be in about the middle 90s. That's a big change. And you're right. I mean, all the things you said from a retail standpoint, from the standpoint of the individual saving money, being able to have more money to spend at the stores, it's true. However, it is also putting in jeopardy our future energy development. Now, the question is, why did it happen? The one country that was responsible was Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia produces 10 million barrels of oil every single day, as does Russia, and we're getting close to that. Three big oil-producing countries in the world today are the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Russia.
But the big difference is that's all they have.
Oh, it's all they have, but it puts them in a very strong position. They can dictate to OPEC. OPEC, I think, is finished because they did not have any independent status at this meeting. Saudi Arabia got together with the United Arab Emirates. You put those two countries together, you've got out of 90 million, it's actually less than that now, it's about 80 million barrels a day that are produced. The Saudis produce about 10 million. The United Arab Emirates produce about 4 million. So that they're pretty strong between the two. And then they have some of the little countries like Kuwait that would vote along with the Saudis. So they pushed through the idea that market share was more important. Saudis were scared to death. First of all, they were losing the United States. The United States
as a customer.
Oh, I mean, they used to ship 10, 12 million barrels a day. They were down to 3 to 4 million barrels. They actually had two price cuts in the last 3 months. The first one was for the whole world, and the second one they started inching back up again to the rest of the world, but they had another cut here, and they had a double standard, one for the world and one for the United States. So they could ship cheap oil to our refineries. Our refineries have become so productive, so technologically advanced, that 143 refineries, which we have by far the biggest group of refineries in capacity in the world, are begging for crude oil. That's one of the reasons why the XL oil pipeline would be a big, huge benefit to our refineries. You know how the president dismissed it? He said, well, they just want that oil so then they can sell derivatives to Mexico and other countries. Yes, they are not inhibited from selling anything they can to whoever is the highest bidder.
So the idea here is that if they can lower the price low enough, they can make it economically unfeasible for us to produce our own energy. At what point, at what dollar level does it become economically not beneficial to produce anymore.
I don't think it'll ever happen, because I think, you see,
Would it be $40 a barrel?
no. Let me answer this way. First of all, you've got Russia, Iran, and Venezuela. Now, Russia is not part of OPEC, but Russia is a powerful country, and they produce 10 million barrels a day, but about 25% of that stays there because they have a more sophisticated internal economy than Saudi Arabia does. About everybody else does too. But the point is, they are hurting badly by this. So you can say, well,
The Russians.
yes, the Russians are hurting, the Venezuelans are hurting, and the Iranians are hurting. So if somebody wants to argue with me and make a very strong argument for the fact that we're hurting the countries that will do us no good, it's a good point. But you asked me a question: at what point do we put ourselves into very deep trouble for the future of being an independently energy developed country?
And if you don't have anything else other than oil, isn't that the game that you're going to play against someone like us?
Of course, absolutely. I'm not trying to say it's not true. It's their point of view. You see, the Saudis, they don't have any elections in Saudi Arabia. They've got potentates. They got about 20,000 people there that make all the money, and the rest of the 30 million that they have are living off the sand.
Right.
They got the biggest desert in the world. So the thing is, what they have done is they say, we have got to keep our market share. They are looking at the United States as an enemy today in oil. They never, in their wildest dreams 5 years ago, ever thought that the United States would be capable of going back. They thought we were down to 3.5 million barrels. Certain states wouldn't even allow you to drill anymore. Offshore drilling was troublesome, like in the Gulf of Mexico.
And hydraulic fracturing really has them shaking in their sandals.
This is their war on hydraulic fracturing in the United States. It really has them worried, because not only will we be energy independent, which every president since, remember, Carter called it an equivalent to war to get energy independent. Nixon said we got to be energy independent. Every president said it, but had nothing to back it up.
Right.
Now we are in a position not only to be energy independent, we can become a major exporter of oil, which at this point hasn't happened. Do you know that in addition to the fact we are now producing 8 million
barrels a day.
Actually, in October, I think it was 9 million barrels. We are also producing propane, butane, light condensate oil of 3 million barrels on top of that.
Natural gas.
Well, natural gas, you're right about that. Natural gas, we're by far number one in the world. So a country like Saudi Arabia, which is the most backward country sociologically in the world, and taking only, talking about ISIS and cutting off heads, the Saudis do it all the time.
And a war on women.
Women aren't allowed to drive cars.
Or show your face.
And nobody since Roosevelt legitimized Saudi Arabia back in 1933. Ever since then, everybody's gone and bowed and scraped before the king, Ibn Saud and his progeny.
There is a big concern in Texas and Oklahoma about some rash of earthquakes. That really, you don't hear about earthquakes in Texas and Oklahoma.
Or Missouri.
And a lot of the opponents are saying that it's because of hydraulic fracturing. I know you're going to say no, but explain to me why you say no.
Well, first of all, it's a horizontal form of production. If there was going to be earthquakes, it would have been the old form of really digging deep down, called tertiary drilling, going as deep as you can to get oil. And the Saudis, you could stick your finger in the sand and the oil would pop up. Well, they have 5 huge oil fields now that the question is how long they're going to last. But the point is, there's no proof that these earthquakes are related to fracking, because fracking is a horizontal technology. It doesn't go that deep.
But when you've never really heard about earthquakes in that part of the country, as many have been happening lately in that area.
Sure,
Oklahoma,
you had
Texas,
the biggest
Missouri.
snowstorm ever in Buffalo too. I mean, those things do happen.
Well, snowstorms you expect. It happens every single
Okay.
year.
The
But my
bi-
point is that earthquakes don't normally happen in Oklahoma.
The biggest earthquake ever in this country goes back, I think it was in Fulton, Missouri in 1848. It was, I think they had the smoke going around the world for 5 years after that. It was a gigantic earthquake, but you didn't have any media in those days, and you didn't have that many people living there. Now, it's a possibility, but it's not a probability.
Don't go anywhere. Our global outlook, moment in history, and predictions for 2015 are coming up. Again, if you want to watch the show or catch any of our segments, it's simple, it's free. You just log on to our website, theworldreport.org. Remember to like us, recommend us, and leave comments. And for the latest news updates, visit newsmax.com or watch Newsmax TV on DirecTV 349, Dish 223. We'll be right back.